Recording is starting now. I will share my screen. Okay, can you guys see my screen?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. So this is the translation performance that I gathered on the 16th last week. So French Canadian is still the highest performer, pulling these results from the new project, the Open edX Translations project. Spanish Latin America went down in performance. Spanish from Spain declined, and you can see that overall theme across the languages. We declined in performance rankings. This is to be expected because we just switched projects from the edX platform project to the Open edX Translations project. So people are seeing the notifications in Transifex that they have to work out of the Open edX Translations project now. But one of the troubles is that not everyone may catch those announcements in Transifex. So we're doing our best to communicate it as much as possible in Slack and Transifex, etc. A good thing is that Omar recently converted the edX platform project to a read-only project, so nobody will be able to go in and try to translate in that project. Any questions about this?
Maybe a quick question on my end. So there were maybe a couple of strings which were essentially code, which I was not able to translate. So my question is, who would be the best person or resource for me to talk to in order to be able to translate that? Those strings, it's just a couple of them, but they're fairly technical. And normally I'm able to do it just by copying and pasting and so on. But a couple of them I just couldn't manage.
Okay. In that case, Gabriel, if you can post the notification in Slack, that way Brian and I or anybody else in the group can review it and give you feedback. But I think that's the best place to post it so that we can leverage as much feedback as possible.
All right, great. I'll do that. Thanks.
No problem. The other thing is too, whenever you're experiencing some kind of a technical error within Transifex, on the bottom of your screen, there's a Contact Us button for quick responses, because they have people available 24/7 on chat. So they also oftentimes can assist with these kinds of errors. So feel free to leverage that as a resource.
Oh, that's good to know. I did see the button there, but I didn't know if it was relevant for me to use it or not. So that's good to know.
Yes, anybody can use it.
All right.
And that way you get much faster support.
Great. Thank you.
No problem. Okay. All right. So that's regarding the performance. Any other questions regarding the language performances? No. Okay. The next thing is the transition, as I mentioned, from the edX platform project to the Open edX Translations project. We have completed the transition of all teams, converted all teams from the edX platform to the Open edX Translations project. One thing that you may have noticed is that we have not transitioned all of the 133 languages yet. Currently, the Open edX Translations project only has the 18 languages embedded that we cover in this group. However, Omar is going to transfer all of the additional languages to the new project by the end of this week, because we've gotten quite a lot of queries about languages missing that were available in edX platform, not available in Open edX Translations. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Eden.
Yes.
So we have actually a transition. So I was double checking the tasks. Obviously, this project has like a ton of very small tasks. One of them, I've noticed that the Exoblocks project also needs to be made read-only, because from now on, we'll we will apply the release process on both ExaBlocks and the edX platform. So we'll have just one open edX-translations project, which contains everything. Except maybe for Superset, where it's out of like our scope at the moment, but we can chat about that later. This is completely out of scope. So yeah, so that's one thing. We are going to make that project read-only, announce there, and because it's already migrated and the languages are synced. One challenge that we have is that we have about 100 languages, maybe like or so, that is not synced. Even if we enable them, they'll be empty. So if we enable them, I can see that like some of them are already looks, how can I say, controversial, or some of them, like I'm mentioning, especially the locale that I am aware of. And this is one thing that, like for example, Arabic has a lot of dialects that are effectively people changing a few words, like very few words. For example, someone does not like the translation of the course. They want to use the course in the context of a university. So they go in and open Egyptian. Others, they want the course in the context of a, for example, like a professional training. So they fork the translation and make it Saudi. For example, I'm just throwing out an example. I hope that Ghassan is more aware of the issues than I am. So we need to, I'm thinking that like if we do we need to enable like the whole languages, or should we let people request them and add them organically with and develop criteria on the spot? That's like one question. Because I'm sure that like some locales shouldn't be there in the first place in the old project, especially I'm speaking about the language that I'm fully familiar with, which is Arabic. Yeah, so it's a new thing. We didn't think about that. But enabling the languages like from the old project to the new one is a matter of a scripting. And like you said, we can do this week. Actually, I mean, we're sorry it was a little bit late. Yeah, so that's one thing. Do we want to develop, like, do we have a policy for accepting languages? Because if we do, then we can like develop a small policy, 3 lines, and we just click enable on every request. For example, like, I mean, yeah, we enable every language, and that's it.
Okay. Yes, Ghassan, do you want to comment on first, or sorry, Cecilia?
I'm sorry for being late. Good morning to everyone. I'm just wondering, is there? I didn't see there is an open. There's translation channel, but there is no like a notice for the Open edX website. Even say that if people want to request new language, you can contact, for example, Eden or Omar to initiate that. So people normally get lost among the Slack channels and make such a request. But of course, we don't know where the customer or OpenEdX, whoever have interest in, when OpenEdX coming from. So I guess it will be too biased if we only keep the current languages or wherever we have those reviewers, those languages in this channel. But if we can like openly, people come to OpenEdX website, even know that if you're interested in initiating new languages, you can contact Eden or Omar or somebody else in this group. That would be good. But apparently I know that people can still make that request through Slack channel or somewhere else. But I want to make it more visible if it's possible. Second question is that because I'm doing the Chinese one, I'm wondering like when the machine translation can, finish those string translations so I can continue with the review. I noticed like significantly Chinese is less than other languages.
Yes,
rate for machine learning.
Yes, thank you.
Machine training, sorry.
Yes, thank you, Cecilia. And Omar, I see your hand up. 1 second, Ghassan too. Let me quickly respond. So I agree with you, Cecilia. We can make it more visible where people can how and where people can request languages. We have it currently on our Confluence page, and the Confluence page is linked on our website. But what I can do is on the website itself, I can add under the translation working group listing some language or shortcuts, if you will, so that people don't have to read through the Confluence or the wiki page. That's to point number one. Point number two, when I pulled the performances of the translations, which, as we discussed at the start of the meeting, have declined, but we expected this decline as part of this transition. After I pulled the performances, I activated the machine translations because I noticed that the machine translation fill-up feature was not activated. So I activated that as well as translation memory. And I saw your comment there, Omar, in regards to the translation memory set up to ensure that I'm following so I will look into that after this meeting. Omar, I find your proposal quite interesting in regards to adding languages only as the requests come in, because I see your concern there. We don't want to over spam this new project. And the syncing issue is a concern. If we do it one by one, you still have the issue regarding the syncing, right? The languages are still not properly.
Yeah, the syncing is not like a huge concern. It's a fairly automated process. If you, let's say, for example, so like here's the concern that I have. Suppose that I came in and requested the language, and then I completely dropped out like this language or locale. That'll create some sort of technical debt, and in the form that we'll have, for example, the repository will grow in size. Obviously, we need to make sure, we get scales up to some extent. But what I would like to avoid is to have right now we have what is it called, translation validation. So if we have sync invalid translations and nobody's owning them, we will start having pull requests that fail the check forever, because nobody's checking on them. Right now, I think we have obviously some of these processes are not really public. People are not paying attention. I'm not saying that this is something that's how can I say obvious, but I'm going to share my screen a little bit if you don't mind.
Sure.
To show you folks what does it mean. So right now, within the 18 languages, we have, for example, some translation issues in Chinese. I think this is because the automated machine translation. I'm just saying. Okay, French, Canadian, same thing. We need people to this is a new process. So what's happening is that there's a bot that checks if the translation is valid. So to break here, instead of breaking in deployment, which is great because we don't want it to break on deployment. So that is right now it says it's valid. We can basically take a look at it, why it's not being merged. But yeah, we need to, let me give you a better example. Now there's a bug here. I need to fix that. Let me just translations. Okay, validation error. I want to bring an example. Valid, sorry. Okay. Yes, awesome. So this one is updates for translation in Hebrew. I think that's Hebrew. Maybe. Okay. So
yeah.
for the which one? Enterprise. So there are some invalid strings here. So it's not being merged. So basically that's what we need to look at. If we migrate all the 18 100 language and sync them, we can enable them. This is a fairly standard process. But if we enable them and sync them, I think we'll have about 1,000 per request invalid here, because for every resource we'll have a specific per request. It's very granular, which is good. So yeah, so that's the thing. So I'm thinking of say if someone wants a language, and this is a response. I'm going to stop sharing. A response to Cecilia. Right now, the process to request a language is for translators to go into Transifex and click request a language. This is the process. I don't think maybe it's not documented. Maybe it's not really obvious to everyone. I think we can make a better effort to put a page somewhere, maybe in docs.openedx.org, and make sure that it's cross-linked so it's visible. Because you're right, that's the process. We don't rely on Slack for this process. We don't rely on email. Transifex has a process in that. I think we already have few requests there, but we are not utilizing them. That's what's happening these days because we don't have a policy. What I'm suggesting is that we develop a policy, basically. If a language is requested, we enable it. And if someone is requesting sync, we require more standard. Basically, please, whenever we sync, fix all the issues on the PR. Just like give us a, how can I say, a week or two, just to go in and make sure the tags are translated well, just to avoid the same user, basically, when they pull to their application, it will break. That's what the validation error means. The validation error right now is happening in Transifex and on the repository. Like a year ago, it used to happen in Transifex and on the build time, which breaks deployment for people. It certainly broke a lot of deployments for me. So right now, these deployments will never break because we have validation and we only merge valid translations, which is good, but it requires a different kind of effort. Yeah. So
I know, Ghassan, you have your hand up, but one of the questions I have for Omar. So how would you formulate the standard for adding a new language? So a proposal gets submitted in Transifex. What would you propose as a standard for accepting? Because prior to this proposal, we would just click accept, right? We wouldn't have any process for checking on validity, if you will.
Yeah. So for the validity, because we have a lot of locales that I have suspects that they are like either invalid or attempts or something. So I have concerns. I'm not an expert in locale because this is a very technical and also, let's say, cultural topic. Because we know that Austria, for example, has Deutsch, as has German, I mean, and that makes things confusing. But from what I see is that it would be ideal. I mean, as a maintainer of as someone who works long term in the Open Access project, I would think it would be ideal to ask for some certain commitment, let's say minimal commitment. If we enable the language, would you be able, let's say, to translate the Elixir platform in full? That's it. The Elixir platform as a repository, or maybe like the learning MFE. Not right now. These things are getting prominent. So we ask for this certain commitment. That would be ideal. Like it's really good. We don't even like. I mean, we don't have to ask for long-term commitment. Just like if we enable it, would you like be willing? So we have contact with these people. We inform them about updates. We like about the updates from the WG translations. So we don't like require them like to attend these meetings, of course. Nobody like not everybody is a long-term contributor. That's not what we expect. So that's the ideal commitment that I have. The second thing, if someone wants to sync a language, because that will happen, that someone will say and will show up and say, my language was enabled, but it's empty. What happened with the old translations? We tell them we need this certain commitment. Please make sure to allow us for a week to clear all the pull requests that caused broken translations, invalid translations. Right now, this is what I like. I mean, the ideal criteria. Apart from that, we like. I mean, like I said, it's a click of a button to sync, a click of a button to enable language. So it's like it's actually too easy right now, in my opinion. So that's why we're getting some questionable quality entries.
Okay, but you can basically fix the translation errors, the invalid translations that come up within a few weeks per language, if the syncing is requested.
Yeah, so right now, if I want to fix it, I have to go manually. Serena certainly did some of the fixes manually. Serena Kenlake. I myself did some of the fixes, but this is not a sustainable process. Because the number of languages is really huge, and I'm expecting, I think, about like 1,000 or like 1,500 defect. Hopefully not more than that. So yes, we go basically go to Transifex, fix it, click save, and the rest is automated. Ghassan, please go ahead. This is you're the expert here.
Yeah, I'm also learning from you as well. I have two things I would like to, if we like, just to relate a bit of my confusion. So before, when we were discussing adding a new language, we were discussing not having it in the translation project in Transifex, but to have it somewhere. If you install the new release, you would be able to see it. But I think here we are a bit changing that. Is when we want to support a language from you, is that it has to be first. It has to be we start by adding it in the Transifex project, and
Yeah.
then
And Ghassan, that was in fact the process before too. People submitted language requests in Transifex, and if we approved it as administrators, it would right away be added to the edX platform project. So that was in fact also the case prior.
yeah, but what was the old workflow like by default? Okay, I think maybe for the MFEs it was just a specific language, but for edX platform it used to pull a lot of language, but not everything. So yeah, it was a bit blur. But yeah, I got it. But when we say we want to add it to it doesn't mean necessarily that when I go to my account setting, when I install OpenEdX by default, I would be able to see the language. It means it would be pulled in OpenEdX translation.
Yes, in the Git repository.
And it would be like a matter of changing Atlas configuration that I can easily just add it to my installation of OpenEdX.
Yes, hopefully.
Okay.
It's not as straightforward. You've already installed OpenEdX, and you know that it needs to change account MFE at the moment, edX platform, and Atlas configuration. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Just for my confusion. And the other thing, I'm not sure I get the idea of the BR being annoying, but would it be if Atlas pulls the translation that are reviewed? I know there is we have I know if you only pull the strings that are reviewed, would that minimize the number of avoiding in the BR?
No, the problem is in Transifex you can override. You can pass through the review, even though it will cause, even if it causes an exception when you open it and when you use it in Python, when you compile it to Python. So Transifex does not allows some of the errors to reach the application and to break it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's always have been like that. This is nothing new. We've always seen people, French is broken. Please fix it. This is I remember 2014 and 15 getting emails from Serena Kenley. We're emailing us, please, Arabic is broken. Please go ahead and fix it. It's breaking our build. That's so yeah. And until we started to have the Transifex bot, the one that we've replaced. So we've discussed a couple of deep topics. I would like to give a short overview of what's happening right now, if you don't mind.
Yes.
In terms of OEP. Yes, because I think that would be less confusing for everyone. So right now, the status of OEP 58, Atlas, OpenEdX translations, the new project, the whole thing, if the funded project number 12, that's same thing basically. The status right now, in a couple of days, we expect the last pull request to get merged. What will that in Tutor? What will that mean? That will mean that whenever you use Tutor nightly, not Palm, not a Quince, Tutor nightly, and scheduled to be released in Redwood, you'll get latest translations whenever you rebuild the Docker images. So in every deployment, you'll have latest translations. That's basically it. It's hopefully as simple as that. There's a lot of bits and details here and there. And what will but that's fairly automatic. If you are still using Ansible, hopefully no one is using it except for 2U. The process is different, and you would need to make sure that you run the Atlas pull command. This is not supported. This is out of the scope of the 2U because the Tutor is the official deployment for both DevStack and production.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't break DevStack in terms of translations. It'll just start showing up empty. There will be no translations after a month by default, unless you use Tutor. and yeah, it'll be like, otherwise it'll be automatic.
Mhm.
Basically, the update, we are almost done, and that's a good news after 250 PRs.
Oh my God! Wow. Well, thank you so much for all of your hard work and getting this done. I really appreciate it. And I think, Omar, in regards to your proposal for adding languages, because of the challenges related to the language syncing, I think your proposal is the best way to move forward in terms of adding languages to the new project, unless anybody in this group has any objections to that we will add languages as the requests come in. However, I will communicate the certain standards in adding a language. So I saw one PR for adding Persian, for example. I will add the prerequisites to the Confluence page and read the docs documentation related to the time commitment and what was the other point that you mentioned, Omar? It was a time commitment and
Completing the basic like elements, which is, I think right now is Landing MFE and edX platform. Those are like the most basic.
yes.
Without them, well, there wouldn't be very. I'm like, so we're not expecting someone to translate the e-commerce 100%, and of
Mhm.
course, like leaving the edX platform empty. That would be a little bit not understandable. I will propose a policy, if you don't mind. I think we have a good idea at the moment.
Mhm.
It will be fairly simple, and I will ask Brian to make sure that it reflects the overall direction of OpenEdX. Because with the Atlas translation that we have, like a project, it's now possible to avoid depending on the official project. So people now can use forks, can use different GitHub repositories for translations with much easier burden. So it's a centralized 3 variables. If you don't want to pull, if let's say Persian or like Arabic is not available in the EdX platform, I can fork the translations, work on it, and put it on and pull it from my repository on all MFEs, all the EdX platform like components, all the IDAs with just 3 variables. So I said, instead of that, use this. I'm good. So we're not like we're no longer dependent on the OpenEdX project to provide all translations, unlike before. That's so yeah. We need to like develop the policy and make sure that people know what their options are. Let's say if Arabic like / Iraqi, I'm Iraqi by the way, has been, let's say, denied, I can like right now it's possible for me to fork and create it in a fairly low cost
Mhm.
manner and maintain my own translations.
Okay.
Yeah, because
If I can,
an upstream. That's my point.
yeah, if I understand you correctly, just to reorder, like our ended goal is that we have that Git repo as like an abstraction between our users of Transifex and how the ecosystem builds the translation. So whoever has access, that's supposed to be the source of truth.
Yes, the OpenEdX translations currently everyone communicates with it. Nothing communicates with the Transifex except for the translation. So it's the mediator. So if you, for example, one of the things I'm working on a project that they don't like the translations of course, for business reasons, not for cultural reasons. Because like if it's cultural, then it's a different locale, right? Then we have, let's say, Spanish versus Portugal thing, or let's say Colombia Spanish versus Spain Spanish. That's not like our point here. These are locales. We enable them and we make sure they are supported. But if for business reasons I want to translate translations, there is no way that could fit upstream. So right now the recommended way, it's not documented yet, but we'll make sure that it's documented, is to fork the OpenEdX platform, OpenEdX translations GitHub repository, do a like run a script to replace whatever words we don't like, and we ask Tutor to pull from that repository There are, of course, like challenges because like any fork, but it's one of the fairly lowest cost ways of forking, and it's definitely something practical. I'm going to use it personally for a project that I'm working on for a customer. So that's like, yeah, it doesn't fit upstream. It doesn't align with the upstream repository. So like policies or I mean translations. So yeah, so we'll do it in a fork, and it'll be fairly low cost. So yeah, that's one thing that I want to make sure that Brian Smith and other folks are aware of this policy, and I'm not, let's say, breaking any previous assumptions by creating this policy, like this proposed policy. Yeah.
And Omar, when do you think you can have the policy outline available? I'm just wondering because, for example, Persian was one of the languages that was already requested. I think there's another one. There's another request I received in my email.
So if those are it, okay, can we, for example, I don't know, do we need to wait for the policy, or we can enable them at the moment? What do you think?
If you want, because for the Persian one, no, there was. How about we enable Persian for now?
Yes.
And then for the future requests, I will hopefully by that time the policy will be completed by you and reviewed by Brian, so that we can add it to the documentation.
Yep. Yeah, I think the case with the like Persian folks, it's they happen to come in an unfortunate time, because like we just make them really wait a lot of time, and I'm really sorry for that. I think it's fairly like it's completely fair to just enable it, especially if the FA. We need to ask them if they expect other locales, like sublocales, or it's just FA, like typical Persian. I think that's going to be like a very easy decision, because we already this is a major language, and I mean, it doesn't look weird to me. When I see, for example, Arabic IQ, like which is like Iraq basically. I mean, I'm not aware of any substantial in Arabic differences between Arabic in Iraq and Arabic, let's say, in Saudi Arabia on Egypt, except for date names, which are completely not available, not related to Transifex. So like, for example, the currency and the day names and the month names, these are handled by the operating system. So we don't translate them on Transifex. So, but if it's FA, I feel that it's completely fair, and I'm sorry that we made them wait that much.
No, okay, no problem. Thank you, Omar. Yes, that would be great. Persian FA for now, and then I will let you know as more requests come in.
Yes.
So you mentioned regarding the XBlocks, the XBlocks project is now read-only. What about the resources? They have not been fully transitioned to the new project yet, right?
Oh, it's the opposite. Sorry. We have fully transitioned them. They're insane. They're working fine, but we forgot to make the XBlocks project read-only. That's why I said we.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we've had like about 300 tasks. That's one of them that we forgot.
Okay, no problem. Okay. Any more questions regarding OWASP 58, the transition from edX platform to Open edX translations project? Any other questions regarding that? No. Okay. Then let's move on to the next topic. There was an issue raised by Pierre regarding strings in MFEs not harvesting properly. I created an issue for that on the GitHub board as well. This is the issue here. And there were 2 MFEs he flagged, the front-end app communications app and the front-end app learner dashboard. The Transifex team did offer to help us run tests to make sure that the strings defined in a particular resources are added to Transifex, and if they're not, they can flag it for us. However, in order to run these tests, they need to obtain all of the source files. I know that I discussed this with Ghassan, and Ghassan mentioned since the source files change frequently, it may not be the best option to leverage. So we wanted to see if there's any other proposals for managing these issues.
Yeah, I think if I want to add just also comment that I think what the issue with the Learning dashboard that
Mm.
Pierre and Omar commented, it wasn't typical. It was the first time I just saw it. I don't think, and the code that gives the problem is very old, like 1 year or 2 year. So I don't expect that issue, that exact reason for the strings to not show up to come again. So I don't think it's worth. It is worth for this use case to run test because it was only in that repo and that code is very old. So I mean, yeah, we will see if it comes again. But yeah, I did the thing open the fix, but yeah, I don't, unless Omar you think it may come in, but I don't think it was very old code. But the other reason translation wouldn't show up was previously was just because the thing wasn't running, which was different issue, and now we have a new project, so and we have a proper way, as we discussed before, to add a new language. So yeah, I don't think. Yeah, that's my comment on that. Just.
So yes.
So yeah, thanks, Ghassan. That's completely fair. I think it will not show up. However, I don't want like to be, how can I say, pessimist, but it's having a missing translation is like having a bug. We'll always forever, I think, have that. It's not like I don't think it's a solved problem like technically. The only way we can fix them is basically by training. At the moment, I don't have any automated like way to think about it. Is by training, making sure people understand translations when they join a project, and making sure that it's a like to mark specifically strings for extraction. For this way, I don't think it will happen again, but we'll see different flavors of the same problem in Python, in React, and other projects. So in my opinion, the actual responsibility of fixing those issues would be on that specific repo's maintainer. I've been asked to fix all these issues as part of the OOP 58, but last time I need to double check with Brian if this is still true, because the quantity of them, I have no problem with continuing on the project, obviously, but I've been asked to I mean, basically check off the project and deliver it. And these are one of the things that I still need confirmation. So it's either like I will be asked, okay, spend, let's say, a couple of months on making sure all the, let's say, 150 repos strings, or let's say, I don't know, main 30 repos strings are marked. That's a quite manual work. And we are not expert on like those 30 repositories, but this is a doable thing. We barely know how to do that. The more efficient way, in my opinion, is to ask the repos, individual repos maintainers, to basically file a bug on that repo, sorry, a GitHub issue, and ask them to fix it. I think that's a more natural way to go. I mean, if someone disagrees, like or like I've been asked to like to extend the project, that'll be a different conversation. But right now, I think that's the more sustainable way.
Yeah, that sounds good. I'm adding a comment here for Brian to add his feedback as well. Any other questions about this particular issue that came up, or comments? No. Okay. So then let's go to the next issue on the board. This issue that came up, that was flagged in the Slack channel. Okay, and I think Ghassan, you already gave your feedback to this, right? Ghassan, you had some feedback regarding this issue that was raised?
Yeah, I mean, it was someone, I think, commented on the translation Slack channel. I'm not, yeah, it is just if people here have some opinion, but I don't think it relates. So they asked to change the pattern of locally path in cookie cutter. And my observation was that we use the same pattern in all other Python-based project or repos. That is conf-local is the prefix.
Mhm.
So I was thinking if we want to change it to cutter, it is more of like a bigger question. But yeah, it wasn't. I don't think they said it's very important, but they just want to let us see it, I think.
Could we please? I don't have access to this
Oh, yeah.
issue document. Could you please tag Shadi Naif? He worked a lot on these nitty-gritty details, and I think he's gonna be able to. Yeah, okay, I can tag him.
Who is the other person you want me to tag?
I'm gonna, yeah, my colleague, Shadi Naif. I typed his name on the conversation.
Oh.
Yes, his GitHub handle actually.
It's
Yeah, you
Shadi.
can copy it.
Shadi. Yeah.
Sometimes, like, I think this issue can be a bug, like that we introduced. Maybe, I don't know.
No,
Or it could be a just refactoring request that can be like critically reviewed. But by default, the cookie cutter supports translations. That's the default case. It should never not support translations. That's what I know, and we'll see.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. And then this was an issue that was generated out of our brainstorming session. Just providing better resources for translators to understand the context in which they are submitting translations. And also, for example, instructions for resource type, how to translate and export. These questions actually come up, and we don't have sufficient documentation or outlines for people in Transifex. I know that initially this issue was assigned to Omar and Brian, but I know you guys are quite busy with OAP 58, so Ghassan offered to assist with this ticket. So Ghassan, I don't know if you have any proposals for this work.
Yeah, I mean the way I think about it, like I would probably, it's something that's, I will start with something, but it is something that's going to be like ongoing, because, for example, I am a translator and a new resource come up for an Xblocks, a new MFE. The main thing I think this issue is trying to address is if I am as a translator, I never use this interface, this feature, this UX UI. How I'm supposed to test it, or their screenshot, just to help the translator have some context. I think is particularly relevant for new resources, and because I think sometimes the ecosystem is really large, and for example, you could have people that are very experienced in the studio, but not in other aspects. So yeah, that is a way, like what I think it was when a translator does not have enough context about a resource that they can look at, see maybe screenshot, maybe steps to reproduce the experience in an instance or something like that. Yeah, and this was we brought up like last year, and few people would found it useful.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we can start with adding, I don't know, links from the resource to the repository. I think that's a good thing. Or we can point people to use the OpenEdX sandbox, which has like a live code. I think that's I don't know if it's some of the concerns, but of course, it will not fix all the context.
Mm-hmm.
It needs some manual work. I'm just like discussing some ideas out loud.
And when you say OpenEdX Sandbox, are you talking about the sandbox that's being leveraged by BTR for
Yeah.
testing purposes? Okay.
Yeah. Like, I mean, it's actually, like, hypothetically, if like everything like goes really well with the execution of the project that we're working on, and it becomes, let's say, somewhat error-free, and then we can, I mean, hopefully it is, because we have the foundation for that. We can basically ask the BTR group to rebuild the images more frequently, let's say every couple of days or every day, basically, so translators can go in and check their translations, and basically, I think that would be a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. One challenge would be I think is that typically, or like so far, what PTR use the demo is usually up to the release, and usually the release is like few months behind a new resource.
Yep.
So it would be that for example, a new XBlock, a new MFE is included in the release, then it is deployed by PTR. Then as a translator, I can see it. Then yeah, it's like it's a matter of like egg and chicken, I guess. But yeah, it's hard to have ideal solution for that. But yeah, need
Mm-hmm.
to install. Yeah.
Well, you have some time to brainstorm ideas. The next meeting is 1 month from now, right? Because we have now the meetings every third Wednesday of each month. So perhaps, Ghassan, by then you have a proposal in mind that you want to introduce to the group, and we can review it if that is.
Some maybe. In addition, like, so we have like 2 sandboxes, one for the latest stable release and the other one for the nightly. That's gonna be a big thing, I think. Last week, yesterday, I've been in the coordination working group, and they were saying that we don't have a continuous like a CI, like we don't rebuild
Yeah,
the
the
code.
master. Yeah.
Yeah. We just we before the release, let's say a couple of weeks, there's a rush, and everything is assembled, and bugs will start to show up randomly, obviously, because stuff are not continuously integrated. So yeah, it's not impossible, but definitely it's a effort intensive something to do. But yeah, I like the ideas being thrown here.
Mm-hmm. And Ghassan, you are also still in the BTR working group, right? Or
Yeah, I usually become more active regarding a release. I haven't been in the few meeting, but yeah,
Okay.
I think I agree is a good thing that this thing can be thought of as not only for the translation, but collectively as like how to enable this future is all relate together, I think.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Okay. Any other questions about this issue? No. Okay. These are all of the items that we had on today's agenda. Are there any questions that we did not cover on today's agendas, or topics you want to bring up, or questions you want to ask that we can address? No. Okay. Okay. With that said, thank you everybody for your time today. And to write the policy. Okay.
Yeah, I was expecting some posts. So I would like to start like writing the policy this week. It's going to be fairly simple. So would the Transifex be a good way? Sorry, Confluence would be a good way to write it, or do we expect it to go in the docs.openedx.org repository?
It has to be updated in docs. So if you can start it in the repository, that would be better, Omar.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
I'll add it there.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. So thanks everyone. If there are no other questions, thank you for your time today. And if anything comes up, please do not hesitate to post in the translations Slack channel, and we will see you next month. Thanks everyone. Take care.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.